Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll this Boba Basra daf Kuf Samach Dalid. We are going to begin on Kuf Samach Gimel Medbeis by the word Gufa, getting back to what we said before. Amurab, Shtar Haba, Hu Ve'edav Al Machak Kosher. If you have a star in which the wording as well as the signature of the Edim are actually on the erasure. So according to one opinion, this is considered to be going to be kosher. And fine, so it's kosher. So on this, the Gemara continues on Kosakadaitich Kuf Samach Dalet. Very few times you can actually say that. The question is, are we afraid, as the Rashbam says, he's going to erase it again. He's going to forge on that document. So we know that it was erased once, but a paper which is erased twice, you can see that it affects the paper more significantly, and therefore you can tell if it was erased the second time, so therefore not afraid that he did that. Okay. Maybe he put the ink, a makam edemikara, the place of where the witnesses were before it was written, umachakle, and he'll erase that. And then when he goes and erases it, lahai havile idi nimchak shtei pamim, ends up being erased 2 times. So he'll make it so that legitimately it was erased twice, and therefore his was erased twice, and then we won't know the difference. So the Edim are not going to sign on an erasure unless it was actually erased in front of them. Says Rashbam, "V'im yiru makam chasimasan mishuna b'machika min el yoina lo yachtomu." Basically, if they see that there's some issue with the document, they're not going to sign it. Okay. So again, the point was that part will be erased once, and part of the Edim is erased twice. Then he'll erase the top of the star and say it was erased 2 times, then signed. So again, the Edom aren't going to allow that to take place. Meisvei, Hu al Hanayir, let's say he wrote on the regular paper, the Edav al Machak, but the witnesses wrote on the erasure kosher. So why is that okay? Maybe he'll erase the top as well. He'll write whatever he wants after he erases it. And we said that you could have the Edim and the document on erasure, and that's considered to be kosher. So why? But the problem is, again, that means he erased it himself and wrote whatever he wanted. So the Kasav Hachi, the witnesses wrote the following: Anachnu Sahadi Chasamno al Machaka. We are the ones that signed on this erasure. Ushtar Kasav al Niyara, and the star above it was written on paper that was not erased. So if they write it this way, so therefore he can't erase that part, because if he erases that part, it goes against the testimony of the witnesses that's written on the document saying that the top part was not erased. So if you see it's erased, you knew that he did it. So Gemara says, so the Kasvi Heichel, where do they write this? If they write it underneath their signatures, Geisler, he'll just cut that part off. Eloi, if it's above the signatures, Mochikle, he'll just erase that part. So the answer is, the Kasvi bein Sahada Sahada. What he'll do is between the 2 signatures, that's where this is written. So he can't cut it off because then it won't have 2 signatures. Question 6. Hu al Nayir v'edav al Machak Ma'adin. So it depends. Ikas ve'edim bein Sahada l'Sahada. If they wrote that statement. T'chasamnu al machakva shtar al nayer kosher. If they wrote in between their signatures that the top is unerased material, then it's kosher. But if they don't write that, then we are chayish that maybe he did erase. Yachem eseifa. Hu al machak veidav al nayer pasul. If let's say he wrote on the erasure, if the witnesses wrote on regular paper, then it's pasul. My pasul. Hachanami nichtvu hachi. All the Edom need to do is write the following. Anachnu sahadi chasamna an nayara. We wrote on regular unerased paper. Ushtar al machaka. And the star was erased above. That should be good enough. Now, so hashtanami mayam, we're going to say moichek choyz moichek. Maybe the top part was erased. They said it was erased. So what they'll do is he'll erase it a second time. You can see the difference between one erasure and two. So that is, you can tell the difference when part of the star is erased and the other is erased two times. That's how you can tell the difference. However, the witnesses sign on regular paper. So to tell the difference between an erasure once and an erasure twice, that you can tell the difference. But between an erasure twice and regular smooth paper, you're not going to know the difference between if it was erased twice or once. So therefore, because of that, that becomes problematic. And therefore, because of that, it's pasul. Even though the top of the macha is erased, and even if they would have written it, we're concerned that he may erase it a second time. So okay, fine. There's no where they sign, it's just regular paper. Take another document, erase it, and then you can compare one paper to the next. Even though it's, let's say, erased once, and the top may have been erased twice, and then we can decipher. Maybe you still can't decipher because they're two different papers, and therefore two different types of parchment may not necessarily erase in the exact same way, and therefore it still will not be discernible, and therefore that won't work. Okay, so so why don't we take the chasimos of the signatures of the to the Beis Din, and then we'll erase it, and then we'll compare it. So Amarav Hoishia eno daima nimchak ben yoyim or nimchak ben shnei yomim. That the document was erased one day, it would be 2 days as opposed to 1 day. So you can, again, even though you do this comparison, it may not work. Okay, so when we delay the document, so we don't want to do that either because we're afraid that Beis Din may actually, in the meanwhile, accept it as a regular document, even though it may not be. It says Rashbam, they may not be so careful. They may end up saying it's kosher. Hilkach paskuhu lamilse upasu kol shtar shamachak ve'edav al nair. That's the reason why we say if you have the document which is erased, but the signatures are on smooth paper, that's pasul. As opposed to the other way around, if you had a case, as we began, where the shtar haba hu the edav al macha kosher, if they're both erased, they're both on erasure, it's fine, and we're not concerned about him erasing the second time because we'll see the difference between 2 and 1. So you'll see that difference, as opposed to this where you won't see that difference. Okay. Question 6. Hu al nair, the edav al machak ma'adin. So if it was regular and the edom signed on that which is erased, what is the din? So he said again, if they write in between, then it's okay that the paper on the top is regular paper. So then he won't be able to erase it. Okay. Let's look at question TA28. Shtar shekasav al nair, ve'edav al machak, same thing. Ma hatam lifsal be'ez oifin kosher. So again, we're afraid that he may end up erasing the top, right? Shema yimchoik v'yichtel madaboy v'havalehu ve'edav al machak v'kosher. If the whole thing is erased, it's kosher. And we're afraid that he's going to do that. But if the Adam actually wrote that, no, the top of the paper is smooth, then in fact he would, it would be kosher because he can't erase it anymore. That's the idea behind that. Okay. Similar to question 6. That was TA 28. Okay, TA 28. Weiter. So if you have, even though the signatures are on different sides, however, if you make him a kosher and you do it the opposite way, it's still kosher because you can unfold and make it into a get poshet. So Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel, who says all you have to do is unfold it and that's good enough. As we continue to Kuf Samach Dal Mabeis, there's other issues that distinguish a get makusher from a get poshet. Let's see the Rashba, even though the Gemara is going to say it right now. De'ilu zmanu shel poshet im nichta b'shan rishayna she'amad hamelech. If you wrote the first year that the king is king, ein moinin lo el shana shtayim. Shana shtayim moinim lo shtayim. You do 1 year. 2 is 2. Of a makosher im malach shana. If he was a king for a year, kais mishbar shtayim. You write 2 years. Shtayim moinin lo shalish. Kloimer makdimin lo shana. Shahari mina ge'uma. K'nel kam lahakdim lo melech shana. D'shem l'kavod melech hayoisin. Anyway, they would write a different year that the king was actually a king. That's what the Gemara is going to now say. A regular poshet star malach shana moinin lo shana. If he was there king 1 year, you write a year. If he was there shtayim, then moinin lo shtayim, you write 2. However, kusher malach shana moinin lo shtayim. Shtayim moinin lo gimel. The Zimnin, because of that, of this different time, what's up happening? The Yazif mine zuzim makusher. You'll lend money with a makusher, which will say that it was year 3, which actually is a post-dated document because it didn't happen yet, technically. And the guy may end up paying off his loan. Give me my document. The Yarmulei irchasle, I lost your document. The Kosle Tavra, so he writes a receipt. The Chimati's money, when the time comes, Mashle Poshet, he'll make it into a Poshet. The Yarmulei, Hani Hashtas Diaz Minoi. They'll say this star was borrowed again. So Kosavar ain't Kaisen Shumer. So he said, we're not going to write a receipt. Umi Baki. Rabbi Makusher Vahu Makusher Dosa Kameda Rabbi Yamar Rabbi Star Maucher Zeh. He thought it was just a post-dated star. He didn't realize it was Makusher. Armulei Zainin Rabbi Kachmin Hagashel Shel Umazu. This is the custom. Malach Shana Moin Lo Shtayim Shtayim Moin Lo Shalish. So he thought it was a post-dated star. It was really a star Makusher. So we see that he wasn't an expert in these dinim. So Basta the Shama Mizainin Savra. After you heard this from him, then he understood this better. Says the Rashbam, Umi Baki Rebbe Makusher Diar Mizmana Shel Zeh Lo Kizmana Shel Zeh. Sounds almost like the beginning of Masechtas Megillah. V'ahu De'asa Kamei Rebbe B'Shan Rishayna Shel Melech Yekosel Shtayim Yamul Rebbe M'Ucher Huzeh. So Zainin, who's a Chacham, he said that's the custom. That was the Rabbanan, who's Masaknis regarding a Makusher. Okay. Weiter. Tahu Shtar, there was this document which is Star Poshet, the Rashbam says. Dahavi Kosabe Bishnas Ploini Arkan. That was written, says the Rashbam, Loiva Ploini Maploini, that he borrowed money from such a person. V'lahavi Kosabe Kamashanim L'malchusa Yishel Oisamelach. But he didn't mention anything about how many years the guy was a king. 1, 2, or 3. Archan zem melech. Umeshan rishayna karin loy arkan. The first year is called Arkan. Mesukinhu kamo orich o lo orich. Gemara in Sukkah uses that language. Is it proper? Is it orich? Is it not orich? Fine. So Hoshtar de Havikasa be Mishnas Plani Arkan. Amar Rav Chanina Yibadek Imosai Amad Arkan Biarkanuse. So you have to look into when he became a king. Says Rashbam, Ki b'shan rishayna shel malchuso nichtav shtar zeh. The first year, this is how it's written. Mahi shaita tarfi bel chayvos lul kuchais. And this time, the people that were owed the money went to collect it from the lukuchais. V'dilma de arch malchusei. So the question is, how do we know that this is what it's referring to? Koloimer lach shehirach umal kamashanim loiva ploydizeh. Maybe it was after many years. I know it was the first year. So Mavoishia kach min hagashel umazu shen rishin karin loy arkan. That's what they write. They write arkan. Shni karin lo digoin. So these are the languages. Digoin, Rashbam says the lashon shnayim, language of two. Okay. So v'dilma avure avruhu v'hader okmuhu. Maybe they removed him and they reinstated him. Rav Yirmiyah hahu arkan digon karale. So it would actually have a different language. Says Rashbam, wafi shechziruhu malchuso ach shaviruhu. If he was reinstated, then it would state it in that manner. Tanaban hareini nazir. So a person makes a declaration, I'm a nazir, but he didn't explain how many Naziros he accepts upon himself. So Simcha Saimer, he says, Heina achas, Digoin shtayim, Tiger goin gimel, like a tricycle, tree, even here, trigoin is 3. Tetrigoin is arba. Pentagoin, chamesh, like a pentagon, is 5. Very interesting, these words all the way back in the times of the Gemara. So Rashbam says, Pintigoin, Yeshu chamesh pinois, kazeh, like this. Not sure why it's that shape. Why is that shaped like a typical pentagon? I don't know. Okay. So, chamesh, Tanaban. Base ogul, if the house is round, or digoin, or it's 2 sides, or trigoin, or 3, pentagoin, or 4, enamatama. So there's no din of tumas habayis. However, enamatama b'medagoyim. However, tetrigoin, if it has 4 corners, enamatama b'medagoyim. So minahad the Tanu Rabbanon. L'mal oimer kirkiros shtayim. L'mata oimrim kirkiros shtayim harikan arba. So it's 4. Ahu makusher yasel kamei to Rabbi. So there was a get makusher that went in front of Rabbi. Va'amar Rabbi ein zman b'zeh. There's no mentioning of any time in this document. Amalei Rav Shimon b'Rabbi. Amar Rav Shimon ben Rabbi l'Rabbi, Shema ben Ksharv Muvla. Maybe between the knots, it got absorbed. So Pa'ale v'chaze. So he went to see if the date was there. Hadar chazabe Rabbi b'bishus. And he saw, says Rashbam, Ksavar shukosmoi, that was written, V'rtzaino lo hayoisim akusher. He didn't really want to make it tied. El Pashut, if he should tie in, because so many people make mistakes with it. Inam, if he shayim muvla ben ksharov, because it could be absorbed in between these knots. Yeres medai sherabi atzma talboy. He himself made this mistake, so he was concerned that people maybe shouldn't be writing this get makusher because there's so many potential errors that can come from it. Hadachazabe Rabbi b'bishus. Amel lavana kasavte. Is it not I that wrote it? Rabbi Yehuda chata kasvei. Rabbi Yehuda Chata, that was his name. He was the one that wrote it. Amalei klach maloshen hara hazeh. You should distance yourself from this lashon hara. You shouldn't have mentioned this person's name that he wrote it. So Zimnan Havi Yosef Kamei Veloy Pasik Sidra B'Sefer Tehillim. So he was sometimes sitting there and he wasn't complete the order of Sefer Tehillim. Amar Rabbi Kama Miyusher Ksav Zeh. Look how beautiful this Sefer Tehillim is. Amar Lava Na Ksavte. It wasn't I that wrote it. Yehuda Chayte Kasve. It was him. So I'm like, Klach Lashon Hara is that? Distance yourself from Lashon Hara. Now, he's not really speaking Lashon Hara, but he's saying something like, you're so beautiful, this writing. Oh, it was him that did it. Almost speaking that it sounds like he's speaking negatively about him. Oh, it was just him. Or the other person can say, oh, it was him. So it could become problematic because you're going to start conversation, which could lead to Lashon Hara. Now, Bishlam Mahasam Ika Lashon Hara. Elacha my Lashon Harika. Mishum the Rav Dimi, the Tani Rav Dimi, Achor the Rav Safral, Omai, Sapra Adam Tavaso Shul Chavero, Shibitach Tavaso Balade Rasai. You shouldn't start praising someone. Oh, this guy's so good, he's so good. Because that other person may say, maybe he's not so good. Let me tell you why he's not so good. So you are causing potentially a person to end up speaking Lashon Hara. So even though the truth is it was a praise, saying, oh wow, look, it's so beautiful. Yeah, he wrote it, but then people say, oh, this guy, so maybe it's not a good thing. Says Rashbam, Lide Gnusai, Metaich Shemar ben B'Shivchai. Since you're speaking so much good about a person, Maskir and Shem Gnus Shabai. So maybe end up speaking negatively about him as well. Amar Rav Marav, famous Gemara, Shol Shaveros Ein Adam Nitzel Mehen B'Chol Yoim. There's 3 averas that a person cannot be saved from. Here avera, which is continuous. Ian Tfil of Lashon Hara. So the middle one is a little difficult. So Rashbam says, Yesh Mefarshin Shli Achashis Baalel, Don Belibo Shin Sham Kodesh Baruch Hascharai, V'Yasa Kodesh Baruch Hasrachav, V'Yishma Tfilasav Yishis Baal B'Kavana. So you think God's definitely going to answer my tefillah, which is similar to Taisus over here. There's nothing wrong with davening with kavana. You should daven with kavana. Taisus says, "Hama'ayin betfilasai balidei ka'av leiv." If a person is ma'ayin his tefillah, you end up having like a heavy heart. How is a person's sins remembered? If you walk by kir natoi, a weak wall, in tefillah, b'hashta havi domia dehir averu v'lashon hara, shenu mitzvah, el enu nira dilma, enu nitzvah chol yoyim, harbim b'nei adam, enu masabim, masa yav tefillasim. When am I going to be answered already? She'enu mechuvanim kol kach, she'etzapu tefillasim. Mizeh en adam nitzvah chol yoyim, she'en shum adam yochel chavin b'tefillasim heitev. No one can really daven so well. So one pshat is just the person doesn't have the tefillah, or it's possible the pshat is that you're anticipating to be answered because you daven so well, and that's wrong also to think that way. So here avera in tefillah lashon hara. Lashon hara is like what? This is something which a person cannot be saved from. You can stop speaking lashon hara. Kav samach. Hey, el avak lashon hara. As we said before, that a person could say something which is like the dust of lashon hara, not actual lashon hara. Amar Yehuda Marav, Rav Begezel. The majority of people steal. It's hard not to steal, even something because when it comes, especially because the business deals, you may be more a heter. Umiyat barayas. Not as many people are in a rayas. Vakol lashon hara. Everyone speaks lashon hara. Everyone is potentially involved in avak lashon hara. Okay, question. We'll stop there. Question 7. Ma'ishav Rabbi l'divrei Rechanan ben Gamliel that Makusher could become pashit. So he said that Makusher kaistin kaminig ha'uma. I get Makusher, you're right, year 2, even though it's the king's first year. V'dilma Yazef b'mekusher. Upar b'tachshina. So you pay it off. V'malva Eimer Avid lo shtar. The lender will say, "I'm sorry, I can't give you back the shtar. It's lost." V'yichtav lo shuber. He'll write a receipt. V'hadam shavli pashit. He'll just open it up. V'yasav v'yigma mena shulkadin. He'll try to collect the second time from it. Rabbeinu Chananel Svirle the Ain Kaisin Shuber. That we don't. The Rach says rather you do not write a Shuber. You do not pay it up until the star is ripped up. So it's not that I don't have to pay it up. I lost the star, so I'm not paying you back. So the fact that you have a receipt, now that's not enough. You actually have to show me the star. It's going to be ripped. Okay, question 8. As we said here, Avera, Ian Tefillah, and Lashon Hara, maybe we should say Avak Lashon Hara. Okay. Question TA 29. The Eluveres Nechsholim Roiv Miyat Vahakoil. So Rov is Gazel, Miyat Arias, Kol is Avak Lashon Hara. TB 29. Mema in Adam Nitzolim B'chol Yoim. Here Halev Ian Tefillah Avak Lashon Hara. Adkan.